Hey everyone, Scott here, and we are back with another Adventures in the Ink. Joining me as always are my two favorite co-hosts, Matt and Mike.
Hey.
Hello.
Yes, you guys are my favorites. I will openly admit that.
Thank you.
So, today we are going to be discussing a possible what-if scenario. Not a lot has been going on in the world of Lorcana this week, so I figured we sit down and talk about what could be other possible formats that Lorcana could be played in. The most, probably the most predominantly format that people have been talking about has been the equivalent of Magic's Commander. Matt, I know that you've been a TCG player for a while, so why don't you explain to us what exactly Magic Commander format is?
So it started out as a fan-made format before Magic kind of took it over, or Wizard took it over. But instead of building a normal 60 card deck, you build a 99 card deck with different restrictions, and you have one card as your commander, that's the theme and tone for your deck. The main character for your deck. And also for Magic, this is how people made it a multiplayer format when Magic was normally a single player game.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that there was other restrictions on the cards other than just having 4 of one card or a certain number. What other restrictions are in Commander?
So in Commander, you can only have one copy of each card that is not a basic land, and the cards have to be the same color as the Commander's color identity.
So that's basically the breakdown of how you build your Commander decks. Now, Magic, I know, has a lot of Commander decks that come out. Well, I think they have like 4 or 5 different Commander sets that come out of with almost every set. So even Magic the Gathering is building into that Commander format. Is this something that happened due to the demand for Commander from players, or was just something that they saw as a way to get other people to play the game?
Both. I think they saw how popular Commander was getting and how most people and Commander benefits heavily from the secondhand market. So this was a way for Wizards to realize there was a very untapped market for them that they needed to capitalize on to make more money.
Mike, what is your knowledge about the Commander format?
Well, I know for sure it's probably the most popular casual way to play. So back when I played Magic, the last time that I actually played regularly was probably 2011, and at that point it was people still were calling it EDH or Elder Dragon Highlander, and Commander was starting to become more popular of a term for it. But I think it was a lot of fun. It was an escape from the hyper competitive aspect of Magic, and it made every game you play feel much more unique. Even though with a standard 60 card deck and 4 of max per card, you while you'll still probably never play the exact same game twice. Which was another name for it. Commander ended up being just a way to introduce more variance into the game, to make every game really feel unique, and you had to know your deck really well, of what kind of quote-unquote outs you were playing to, but ultimately you didn't feel as bad if you lost, because you're like, what was the chance that I was going to draw that one card? You can make all these tweaks to your deck, you can play around with it, but ultimately you're changing one card in a 100 card deck. So it's a little bit harder to settle on what's the best, but that is also fun. Most people won't have the exact same deck.
Now, one last question before we get into why we're all here. The name Commander, I know where it comes from, and we've mentioned it here that you have a commander in your deck, but what exactly does that mean, having a commander as in your deck?
Basically the commander purpose was going like I can when I made the donut together, I'm gonna put it a little bit later. When we go into more detail of the basic parts of the format. But basically it sets the theme and the tone for the deck. The commander is a card that you want the commander to have a good ability, and you build a deck around that ability. So 9 times out of 10, you commanded either an engine or a win condition.
So your commander is a single card that you base the deck completely around. Is there restrictions on the commander as to who it can be, what it can be?
Yeah, so the restrictions on the commander, it have to be a legendary creature or a planeswalker that specifically have the rule written on it that it can be a commander.
Right? That's not being specific at all, but hey, it
Yeah.
works. So, okay. So we basically covered what Commander is in a very generalized format. So why don't we break it down a little bit more in detail now, before we bring it back into Disney's Lorcana, because that's why we're all here. It's for Disney's Lorcana anyway. So we'll start with deck restrictions based on color. You said earlier that the commander, whatever commander you had, your decks had to have the same color. Is that across the board? Is that every color the commander has, or can it be just certain colors that the commander has?
So like this is being really nitpicky, but like the cooking I wanted to add in the origins that I think you kind of skipped over, and I want to circle back around to that if that's cool.
Go ahead.
Oh,
I don't know. Should we let him
Or-
circle back around, or
I vote yes,
all right. So
but only if he gets
Commander,
it perfectly right. Tell me the
yeah.
exact history.
So Commander started out at ED8 Elder Dragon Highlander, and it was made by judges who wanted to test card interactions, and so judges would play it at tournament, and it was called Elder Dragon because all the commanders they chose was the Elder Dragons.
Mhm. And the Elder Dragons were cards that were introduced in Legends, which is a very old set, and they were all like 3 colors, I believe. And so they were every combination of 3 colors, and so Magic has 5 colors that you can choose from: white, blue, black, red, and green, and then colorless. But the Elder Dragons was, I think, every set of 3. And there were these cards that they were totally not great later on. I think maybe when Legends came out, people were like, "Oh my goodness, these cards are great," but maybe 2 of them were good. The rest of them were kind of trash.
Yeah. But yeah, so it evolved from that into a fan popular format because of the single restriction, and there was no all sets are legal in it. So because of those 2 things, it made it the most casual friendly format. Plus in multiplayer, Commander was typically made to be a multiplayer format, and those things what makes it the best Commander format, the casual format in Magic. Okay, that's all I wanted to add. I'm sorry.
No, I think it's
now we
good.
circle back to me?
Yep.
Okay, so back to color restrictions. Is it you have to stay within the colors of the commander? You have to stay with all of the colors, or say you do have a commander that has 3 colors. Can you just use one of the colors or 2 of the colors?
Yeah, so you can basically you can use black colors if you would like, but you just cannot have any cards in your deck that is not the same color identity as your commander.
So
So
Lorcana players now are already used to that because we are restricted to 2 colors per deck.
Yeah,
So
and
being
Hmm.
color restricted is not something new to us.
no, it keeps the game balanced. It stopped some combos. Um, and so like I don't think like this specific aspect. Like I can maybe see people wanting to do a format that had pre-colored. That so people can try out some funner combos that they would not be able to do. Because the whole point of these fan-made formats is to give players new ways to play,
Hmm.
or more use of a card they wouldn't be able to use. So I think having that color restriction in a format is really important that to keep the game balanced. But like we already have that in standard play, so I don't think we really need a format. Um,
And we don't have any multicolor cards either,
yeah.
so that makes it difficult to do a direct translation from Magic into Lorcana, Magic Commander into Lorcana. Yeah, I think if you know, and maybe we'll get to this, you know, how we could do it in Lorcana, but maybe there would be a different way where it's you could choose 2 commanders or 3 commanders, and like they all have to be heroes or villains, like all the same archetype.
So what I thought someone posted a format on Reddit, and what they posted, but I was gonna say I need to share this with you guys because I think we should build deck and give this format a try. But what he said was, you you pick 2 commanders. One have to be either a hero or a villain, and the other have to be an ally.
Mm. So like a
And that's how
support
you
in it,
come
yeah.
up. And that's how you come up with your 2 colors restricting.
Yeah, I think so. Going back to the Magic and EDH, you know, back to the original days, like when people were only playing those Elder Dragons. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I remember a lot of times people weren't playing 3-color decks, especially in Standard, because there just was not the like enough fetch lands and other things like that to get you your um, to reduce the amount of uh, mana screw that you would end up getting if you were playing 3 colors. And so
Yeah,
when people started playing EDH, it like forced people to say like, "Oh my goodness, we could play with 3 colors
yeah,
or 4 colors." Um,
yeah. Because that's the biggest thing too. Is like because of how the resource system worked in Magic, um, you get penalized for having more colors. Because you have to make sure you're able to paper stuff with the right color.
mhm.
But we don't have that issue in Rokana, so I think if we try to add more colors in at Path to 2, I think that when the actual really start to get broken.
Yeah, I think maybe so. I'll take that idea and I'll run with it for a little bit. Like if that still doesn't seem fun enough, like you're not getting enough crazy wacky combos, to you still have your commander, you still have your ally, and you get to choose a 3rd color. But any card of that 3rd color that doesn't match one of your commander or your ally or whatever, your hero or your ally, it has an additional tax you have to pay. So maybe like 1 extra or 2 extra ink to play your off-color cards.
So what I was thinking of doing is that like you pick a commander type character, you can have any card of that color of that commander character and any card from the source material. So like say you're picking
Hmm.
Elsa, you can pick all the characters and stuff from Frozen and whatever color that Elsa is.
Yeah, and I say anything that's also unique to Lorcana IP, just for fun. So that way you see more Starlight files. No, that's interesting though. Like to just switch it on its head instead of being color restricted, but maybe IP restricted.
Yeah, and I saw other people on Reddit were talking about doing that, like, oh, let's put them in families. But right now, though, it's like we're kind of still new enough. When you do that big of a restriction, we don't have a big enough call for yet.
Yeah,
Well, we do on some of the IPs, just not all of them.
Yeah, and then when you have that, if we only have like 5 IP, then you're really gonna end up only seeing 5 decks.
Yeah, I don't think
Those are most of the meta decks now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, and that one of the commander, you see a bigger variety of decks, and so you want the format to create a bigger variety of decks. Sorry for interrupting, Mike.
no, that's fine. I think maybe the hybrid approach where it's like you're still color restricted, but I don't know if this is what you said. Maybe it is what you said, but you can also have additional cards from the IPs of the.
Yeah.
So not just like a theme, not just like a Robin Hood deck. Shouts out to Scott for that. But yeah, I think the hard part about that is, in Magic Commander, it's really easy to identify who the commander is because it's just sitting out there. You see the colors, and you say it's very easy to check that they're only playing those colors. Whereas there are some weird cards in Lorcana where you're like, wait, what IP is this from again? Is this actually from, whatever? And it's fun because it requires a lot more Disney knowledge. But I also, because it's not physically listed on the card, it makes it very difficult for some, to be verified.
And also the some that I would separate IPs, that some people would be like, oh, I showed Mickey Mouse and Friends, and I'm gonna play Huey, Dewey, Louie. I'm like, that's DuckTale. That's like those. There's a similarity, but like we should break them up because that opened up to like the crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Alright,
Oh, like
so-
oh, I chose House of Mouse or everything.
I could see you doing that. So earlier you mentioned on the Manders that it had to be a card in Magic that was listed as a legendary creature. How would that translate to Lorcana? You guys have been talking about certain characters from IPs. Would you just be allowed to be using any character, or would it have to be a certain rarity? What do you guys think?
So legendary is a keyword.
Yeah, it's
So-
like villain or hero or ally in
Totally
Magic.
born,
Yeah, all
Totally
those
Born,
pirates.
Dreamborn. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a rarity in Magic. Yeah, just to clarify for those who haven't played Magic before.
Honestly, I think the best translation for legendary would be Floodborn.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think if we wanted to make it restricted, I think Floodborn would be the way to do it.
Mm-hmm. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes it kind of interesting, kind of like unique too, because you could play off of that shift mechanic. And maybe you could add in a new rule like it can shift onto anything from that IP or whatever else, or something weird. Yeah.
And another thing we could do to get the color restricted is you have to pick a Floodborn, and then you have to pick a tip target for it, and that's how you get your 2 colors.
Mm-hmm.
Most Floodborns have at least 2 color tip targets. There's a few that don't, but most of them do.
Now you have me intrigued. Which ones don't have?
Well, first off, everything have emblem because of morph.
Everything is emerald. Yeah. Yeah. I guess.
Also, they would just choose up the value of morph. So we're gonna buy up all the
Yes.
morph, and then we publish this format.
Got it. Yep. Sounds good. Buy the stonks now.
Yeah, but like Mickey Mouse is in every color. And he got at least 1 Floodborn. Aladdin is in 2 colors.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Aladdin is in 3 colors.
Yeah.
He's got an emerald ward.
Oh yeah, he does. Yeah, so Aladdin in 3 colors. Rapunzel's in 2 colors.
Mm-hmm.
Uhtred's in 2 colors.
Yeah. Hades is in 2.
Beast is in 2.
Mm-hmm. Beast is in more than 2. He's in
Oh
in
no,
3.
Beast is 3 now. Yeah.
Let's see. He's got the you know, Sad Beast Steel. He's got the green. He's got 2 emerald ones, and he's got the ruby one now, where he comes into play damaged. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think there's a lot. There's a lot of rooms that for us to play with and the community to play with to see what makes the most fun. And I think that's really the focus of Commander in general. It was never to be like this is going to be the most competitive, or we're going to find out who the best Commander player is. It was, let's find a way to like squeeze any extra fun out of this game and have some wacky things, or have fun deck building.
Yeah, it's supposed to be better supposed to test interaction to teach combos and stuff you would not normally be able to do in a normal 60 card game. It allows you to play with all the cards you have. And also because it's a singleton format, you only need 1 copy of it. You don't have to go and buy 4 copies of the $50 cards.
You just have to buy 99 copies of of one-of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the other part that's fun, is like, as much as, net decking is good for learning how a deck works and to understand how to play, Commander really makes you, kind of challenge yourself to, how do I build a deck? Like, what are the most important things for me to consider, like in an abstract way? Like, do I need card draw or removal, or focus on my ink curve, or like it, because you can't just throw like, oh, every 4 of the what everyone decided was the best 15 cards. You have to like, it challenges you really to like think about your deck in a different way than I think the typical constructed does.
So you guys have been mentioning multiple times that it's an increased deck size of 99 cards plus your 1 commander. So do you think Lorcana, if translated to Lorcana, would that increase the deck size as well of the deck?
Probably. So the benefit of having it be a single format, card format, and increase deck limit, it makes it so that if the 3 of us play with the same deck multiple times in a row, the outcome of the match would be different each time. It's a goal of that. So it add more variety and you see different interactions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very rare in a Commander game that you even come close to going through the majority of your deck, unless your Commander deck is, very geared towards doing that.
Yeah, unless you like get the right engine and stuff going.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played a draw heavy deck, and there have been times where I've had most of my deck in my hand.
Mm-hmm. It also forces you to not be as combo focused when you do your deck building too. Like, if the card isn't your commander, I guess you can do lots of combos around your commander and other cards. But if you have 2 non-commander cards, you can't expect to ever get them together if you have the 100 card deck. I think Lorcana could probably do a pared down version, like maybe not 100 to start, but maybe you could do like 80. It increases the variance, but not to the point where it's like, I had to throw in this random card that's not even good, or I don't like it because I had to fill a spot. I mean, we only have, 4 sets out right now, and that's 204 divided by 6 is 30. How many?
It's like 34,
4?
I think.
Yep, 34 cards. So you have 34 times 4, which is 136. So you only have 136 cards to choose from per color. So you choose 2 colors, you have 200 cards. So basically you're just saying, yeah, I'm going to choose the 100 top cards of these 2 colors. Yeah, so I think starting with a slightly less, but I think the singleton rule is really what makes it. The 100 card format, I think, just also increases the variance, but maybe isn't necessary to start. As people get more, as more cards get introduced to the card pool, it's necessary to increase the variance from in your game to game.
Yeah, like I definitely think the Singleton is out of all the aspects of Commander, I think the Singleton is the aspect that most people are craving right now because of the fact that I've heard so many people complain about the prices of tournament legal gags. Like I went to the Chicago Challenge event with the Green Seal gag with it like winning so many tournaments, and that's a $600 gag. Like when I had to price mine out on Pixel on Dreamborn and send the link to the organizers, it came out to like $667.
It's more expensive now, or at least the popular one versions are, I think, going up to $800 now.
Yeah. So like, and because it requires like a full price set of these $50 cards, and so it very much feels like so that way the Singleton, like people feel less intimidated. Like, oh, I need full copies of the Diablos, but they're like, oh, I just need the one.
We can talk about Diablo now. I finally opened one.
Okay.
it was a
I did too. So
it was
I
a
finally
foil
opened one
one.
over the weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, the price for Diablo is kind of crazy. The Sad Beast is crazy. The what else is in there? The Robin Hood and the Ursula. If you were playing Ursula, the three
Yeah,
card
but I was
Ursula. So that's 4 cards that are each anywhere from $35 to $60.
Yeah.
And every other card in your deck is probably much cheaper. All the other cards probably add up to like $30.
But like, and I saw someone do the math. So to get a full price set of Ursula's returns, minus the top 5 cards of the 5 most expensive cards, not counting enchanted, it's $200.
That's including rares and super rares and the not
Yeah.
and legendaries that aren't the most expensive ones. Wow.
Yeah. So you can you take out 20 cards and you can get the whole full copies of the whole rest of the set. What was that? So it's 5 individual cards, but like 20 copies all together.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like 200 for less than $200. It just so that the cards are really what yeah, there's a few key cards that are really causing the big road bump.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think Commander would smooth that out. Yeah, because you only need 1 copy of those ones, or you could also say you don't need any copies because 1 copy doesn't make that big of a difference in your deck. So you could make it unless it's your commander, but
yeah, but also that like the card, the reason why because the cards that do the best and have the most offensive value are the cards that work best with any deck. So more than likely, if you were playing the commander format,
you would want it.
Yeah,
but you could also argue like it's not as essential in a 60 card deck where you're running 4 of them.
Yeah, you're gonna feel the impact of not having them at bad.
Yeah. The other thing we didn't talk about Commander, and maybe we did, but just to brush up on it again, there's an increased life total. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's 40, correct?
Yep.
So it's double the amount of life that you normally start with in Magic. So in Lorcana, would we translate that to double the amount of lore you need?
You could. So like the point of that is it definitely makes the game go longer, but they also have a rule that we didn't really talk about that like if the commander deal 21 damage to you, then you lose. If any one commander deal 21 damage to you throughout the course of the game.
It seems annoying to track, but
yeah, basically people that have like little counters and stuff. That would from the fact that the Elder Dragons would all 7/7, and so it would pre-hit from the Elder Dragon would kill you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if you would want something like that in Lorcana, where it's like if the commander quest. I don't know. I guess it'd be pretty hard to get any character to quest for 20 lore unless it's like Tamatoa or something.
But like even with like, I feel like the multiplayer games we play are a good time link.
hmm
So I think because of how the difference between questing per lore and how it doesn't really one for one translate for life total.
Mm.
I don't think we need to increase the limit. I think 20 is still a good limit.
Okay. Yeah, or maybe not 40, but maybe you could do 25 or 32 if it seems like,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I think like you said, the increased life limit does make you it makes you lean towards playing higher cost cards, which are generally the more fun ones in Magic. You know, they've got more abilities, they're not, um, and so it definitely plays uh, against like aggro style decks. I think the same thing would happen here. Like if it turns out that an aggro style deck ends up dominating in a commander format in Lorcana, then they might think about increasing the lore count just that way people can
Yeah.
get up to their board clear, or whatever else they have to deal with lots of characters on the board.
Is there anything else in this what if scenario of how you guys can see Commander translating the Lorcana that you guys want to talk about real fast?
So, like a couple of kings is like, in Commander, all kings are legal. Like we have that in, like all sets are legal. Like we have that right now in Lorcana. So like that aspect of the game, we don't have to worry about right now. Um, and like Commander with a multiplayer format, we have a good multiplayer format right now. So I think the biggest but the another thing is too that like, Commander sets a theme for the deck, and it makes deck more consistent and add it makes it easy to build themes and stuff. So I think what I really from my team is what people want the most is they want a theme format and they want a singleton format. So we just have to figure out how we can get that into Lorcana, and that would make people really happy.
hmm Yeah. I think on paper, I like the idea of having the characters from the movie, like any characters from the movie that the commanders are, or commander, depending if you're doing one or two, would be great. But I think in practice, it may be annoying to like kind of track down like, okay, exactly, some cards are obvious what movie they're from, but it's like, oh, does Frozen count for Frozen 2? Or is that a separate franchise?
Yeah,
Or
you would have to have a official database or way to do it.
yeah,
Because again, like, where do we draw the difference between Mickey Mouse and Friends and DuckTales?
yeah. And I
Uh,
think
that distinguish is easy because how the characters in DuckTales were represented is not the way those characters were represented in Mickey and
Yeah,
Friends. So there are two different versions of those characters.
Yeah, I think the other part that you don't want to lose, Commander was meant to be pretty simple. It does have additional rules in the base game in Magic the Gathering, but the no ban list kind of like one of are no restrictions on sets that you can use and stuff like that. Like that aspect is very important. That it's just like, hey, you just throw in one of whatever you want. Um, So I think making restrictions on the deck building process, like the one of, but not making it so complicated that it requires some artificial database,
yeah.
or like some external party to determine can I play this or not. Um, but yeah, I don't know if anything else that would translate that we. I think three colors would be interesting. I mean, so Star Wars Unlimited has you can play off color cards if you pay extra for them. I think that's an interesting mechanic. Like you have to really weigh the cost, but it allows you to just say like, listen, I know this is wild, but I think the synergy is so great that it's worth paying more.
Yeah, like an Amber Teal Emblem Yak based around songs would be so powerful.
hmm Yeah,
I can see Mike's.
Oh no, I'm just
Fierce
thinking of another
version.
way you could do the commander. If you have like you have a commander and you have a location, and those determine your colors, or you have a commander, ally, and
Oh,
location, and to determine 3 colors. Um, but the other rule we didn't cover is in Magic when your commander is not like in your deck. It sits off in a special zone, and you can play it from that zone anytime if you pay the cost, and each time it goes to that zone, it increases the cost. So if it or in Magic, if it is it called getting killed? I don't remember what it's called in Magic. It gets destroyed in
yeah.
Magic. Then you have the choice to put it back into your commander zone or back into the or where it would normally go into your graveyard. And then you can play it from the commander zone for right, isn't it like an increased cost each time?
Yep. So it's 2 more mana each time. So not to trade up like you make it 2 more ink each time, and that's gonna
Yeah.
translate super well. But also to elaborate more on that, it's not just like Detroit. It's whenever it moves to a different zone. So if the commander would be like,
Oh
oh
right,
hey,
put to your hand or
yeah, put it in the hand,
shuffle into the deck.
double it. So like if someone cast a let it go on a commander where it go to the inkwell, if they you can let it go to the inkwell, or you can let it go to the commander zone.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm going to put you guys on the spot. I'm going to take you guys away from the what if scenario. You guys have now basically built around what if Lorcana did this format? How would it look? Now I'm going to put you guys in the hot seat. Does Lorcana need it? Your direct opinion, yes or no, and why?
I don't think we need a straight up commander clone, but I think having a singleton format and a more casual, like people not bring right now, it's so competitive and like I said a lot of positive things about Pictoborn, but Pictoborn really helped build up the competitive and made the competitive more access to everyone. So I think that having a format that is more beginner friendly as the game grows to allow people because what we're gonna what we're gonna start seeing is we're gonna start seeing people who were really involved in these early sets walk away for a year or two because you talk to any Magic players and they all any long-term Magic player would have a period of time where they stop playing and then come back to the game. So having a format where you're guaranteed that your old cards are still valuable and still able to use is very appealing, with why people really like Commander, because you can have the same Commander deck for years without really having to update it.
Mhm.
Mike, what do you think? Is it needed? Is it wanted? Your opinion.
Um, so I think the answer is not yet, but it will. The and needed is a strong word, but I think it would flourish if you have some sort of singleton format again. I'm not always completely sold on the commander idea, like having a character that it's sits in a different zone that you can play. But I like the idea of, to me, it's really fun to say, hey, I have an identity for this deck, or I have these kind of artificial restrictions, being like I can only play these specific colors, and maybe it's tied to a character or a movie or whatever, and also the one of every card. And like we talked about this before in this podcast, but the idea is that it really makes every game completely unique. Even if you're playing, like me and Matt could play the same 2 commander decks. I mean, like each of us has our own commander deck, and we could play against each other 100 games, and every game will be very different. Um, and until I guess someone builds a commander deck that's all about draw and finding and searching your deck, all Merlin kind of style effects. But yeah, so the idea of increasing variance to enhance the fun, to me, it's like it's moving your game from, like a video game translation would be, hey, right now, if you want, you can play on easy mode, and doing commander is like upping it to like advanced. it's not expert mode, but it's like you're making it harder to win. You're introducing more variance and randomness. So it's yeah, I think it adding more restrictions can always make it more fun. You just have to get enough people to agree to do it at the same time.
Yeah, and what you're saying about the randomness, that's why a lot of people like to having the commander, because it helped make the deck a little bit more consistent,
Yeah,
and it guarantee you a lot of times that you can get an end in the cooking going.
I mean, right now, I'll tell you right now what I would do is I'd wait till set 5 comes out, and I'm gonna make a Merlin deck, and just like, oh, I only have one of every card. Too bad. I'm just gonna search for that card.
Yeah.
It's but yeah, there will definitely be abilities that will be overpowered in a commander style format. So it's again, if people, and we've seen this in Magic. I haven't seen it because I haven't played in a while, but they have like competitive commander decks, and some
Yeah,
people
and
like do not like playing against that because it's just you have people who are like, listen, I bought $100 worth of cards to make my first commander deck, and someone comes in with like just an obnoxious like win on turn 5 or 6 kind of deck. It's just like sure, that was fun, I guess.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you circle back around. There's something you mentioned, Mike, at the very beginning of your opinion, that you said that you don't think a commander style format is needed yet. You see that this is something that Lorcana is going to go into, or is it something that you think is just something that might organically grow among the friends?
Yeah, I I don't know if it's going to be an officially supported format yet, like anything like that. Like and it took a while for Magic. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the first time that I played it, and I feel like it was like 2008 or 9. I don't know if maybe that's even too early, but
no, I mean, like, I played it about 2012.
yeah. And so I mean, the game at that point, let's say it was 2010. Let's split the difference. The game had been out for 17 years.
Yeah.
So we're not even to the 1 year point yet. So and I would say you just have to ask yourself again, why did people create this? Like Matt pointed that it was because judges want to test interactions between cards, but also because judges are weird people and they like doing fun, wacky things, right? Because rather than competing,
You're insulting people, or
I've just met a few
encouraging
judges,
them
and
to
I
do?
just know that they're like, they're kind of like they like the what if scenarios, and they,
Yeah, like, I'm giving up my weekend to, like, tell people how to play this game.
yeah, and so I think the format exists to like, and it wasn't necessarily invented to be more casual friendly, but it definitely is. So when Lorcana gets to a point where there's only a hyper competitive format, and the casual format is even hard to like get into because you still need, I don't know, whatever hard to get cards or whatever else. You add more variance into the games to allow everyone a fighting chance to win, even if it is by sheer dumb luck.
Right. Any last comments about introducing a commander type format into Lorcana?
I just have a quick, everyone's thoughts if we were to introduce this tomorrow, or let's say we said on Friday when we play and you had to bring a deck. Do you have ideas of who you'd choose as your commander? And let's say you just choose any 2 cards. So you choose any 2 colors, choose a card commander, and kind of what the theme or what you would aim for.
So I feel like items right now at a singleton format would be really powerful.
I
So
agree.
I would probably go item based, unless we're doing the Floodborne idea, and then honestly I'll probably do Beat Tragic Hero and Morp.
Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I would say items would be my first go-to. So now Matt's forcing me to think a little bit outside of the box, and uh, yeah, I'm trying to.
Because I thought if I was doing item, I would probably grab the Titan pre-cocked one that you ban at the item and get lore. I would probably grab him. But
As your that's interesting. Yeah, I was so, but you wouldn't do Tamatoa.
Thomas already caught too much.
Yeah, but just like once he's out there, he's just like so strong.
Yeah, but like then you just gotta kill him 2 times, and then the most than likely they're not gonna play him again.
Yes,
You
but
just have to
name what would you do to spot remove him twice that you're gonna have more like I'm thinking. So you have Dragonfire.
That's true.
You like it's just so hard. Spot removal is so hard in Lorcana. There's just not like more than a few
Okay.
cards that are very.
So we're gonna first time, be prepared. You resummon him again. Second turn, ban it. Dragonfire.
Okay.
Third turn, at that point, knocking out on your board, Lady to Main. You summon him again. We're gonna do a Let It Go.
Uh-huh.
We're doing movie tap out here.
Wait a minute.
Then after that, we got
you-
Hades.
You've now crossed over way too many IPs, and we're restricting it to one IP.
Yeah, I would say. So, what do you think about a Mickey Mouse trumpeter? So that way, when your commander gets too expensive, you can just throw him in your
Great.
hand and then cheat him out.
He would be a great one for that format.
But more seriously, I would probably do something with steel, maybe an emerald steel, and I don't think I would lean hard on the discard, but maybe that would, as a potential. I don't know who I'd choose as commander, but just using the draw and discard, like the those cards. So in steel, the draw 2 cards, discard 2 cards, ransack, and the Cinderellas and the
at that point, you just do Tinnabog to make him your commander.
Yeah, that's true. So maybe steel, amber, and so yeah, and then you never have to worry about him costing a lot. Yeah, Turnabog, and who would be the steel one though?
It depends on what the rule. So
If it has to be a Floodborn, or if
you could do the tear up. Tinnabog and tear up Nottingham. That's a good combo. And to build all around the dick carding itself.
But neither one of those is Bloodborne.
Yeah, that's if we weren't doing the Floodborn restriction, or so. I think that would be fun, just because you have the artificial restriction in place, and the fun thing is, how do you break it? Well, you draw and discard, you cycle, whole new world, whatever.
But to get that color combination with the Floodborn, you would have to do Cinderella. Because
Cinderella
Floodborn, and then the one drop. So that, or Ariel.
Yeah, Sonic Warrior. Yeah, I think that would be a pretty good deck, and there's enough songs. Not enough, but you could probably lean into the song archetype. You could rely on some random card draw through like Ursula Shell Necklace, or
I don't
Beast
like
Mirror,
that. That people don't like playing a full copy of would do so well in this type of format.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what would we set our card limit to if it's not going to be 100?
I like what you said about 80.
Okay. What do you say? Maybe not this Friday, just because my life's crazy. What do you say we try to do it 2 weeks?
Yeah, it could be fun.
Okay. I'll throw something together, and then honestly, sometimes it's fun building these decks because you don't have to like debate over, do I have this card or this card? Which one fits best in my my 3-cost spot? Because you're like, throw both in. I've got 80 cards to deal with, and I can only do one at a time.
I have very much assumed that Lorcana would at some point always gonna move to a single tin format at some point. Because like every game have a single format. So I own one of every playable copy of every card. So like I am down for this format.
I can make any deck I want.
Yeah.
As long as you aren't using 4 of those cards in your other deck.
Yeah.
You don't-
Well, no, you need to pull that one card out. You
Yeah.
play with a proxy and
No, I think it's fun. I think there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of potential in it. So I'm excited to see. And let us know in the comments if you guys have played any format like this before. It'd be interesting to hear what kind of variants you've played.
Before these two go any further down Alice's rabbit hole, which I think we're way past Wonderland at this point, that's all the time we're going to have to discuss about the new what-if scenario of introducing a commander format. So we're going to go ahead and move on to our card of the week, which this week I threw the guys for a loop and I changed it to cards of the week. For today's episode, we are going to be talking about Jet, Turbo, and Rebel, or as they are best known as Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So all of these cards came from set 3 Into the Inklands. We have Huey, the Savvy Nephew, who is a 2-drop Inkable, 2 strength, 2 willpower. He is a Storyborn and an ally. He quests for 1 lore. He has the ability of support. And he also has the ability called 3 Nephews. Whenever this character quests, if you have characters named Dewey and Louie in play, you may draw 3 cards. Next up is Dewey, who is a 3-drop Inkable card. This is the Showy Nephew. 2 strength, 3 willpower, Dreamborn ally with support, and he quests for 2. And finally, Louie, who is the Chill Nephew. He is a 4-drop Inkable card, 3 strength, 4 willpower, with support, and he quests for 2 as well. So, Matt, I'll turn to you to start off. How do you feel about the Huey, Dewey, and Louie cards?
well, I think Huey typically is not really worth it at this time, but I can since these are very popular characters, very much we're gonna see more of these characters. So I think when we start seeing more Deweys and Louis that are potentially cheaper, I
There is
definitely
there is a hint of Huey, Dewey, and Louie showing up in Shimmering Skies because they were in the video.
yeah. So I very much think that getting more Deweys and Louis to be able to trigger Huey a lot more. I think when we get to the point where like we have 3 different of each and people build a deck around it, I can see that being a fun thing.
Mhm.
But I think right now with just these versions of Dewey and Louie to cause the trigger for Huey, I don't think it's strong enough now at that point. I think the D3 would be really fun to do a support deck for Illuminator's Quest, which right now seems to be the best format for support.
Mhm.
But I think right now in the normal format, they call it Toto. I like the artwork. I like how they're all 3 of them all in included vault. So, but yeah, I think right now until we get more versions of it, I don't think that Huey is super playable.
Mike, what about you? How do you feel about the cards?
So I always like comparing it to your other vanilla cards or cards that are similar, and I think they are all examples. Maybe not Dewey, but Huey and Louie are definitely examples of power creep. Because there are examples of 2/2s for 2 that have support, but Huey also has a very rarely triggered, but makes it slightly better than those other cards. But Louis is a far superior version of Merlin, the Blue Merlin, because the Blue Merlin, I believe, is 4 cost, inkable, 3/4 support. But only quests for one, where Louie quests for two. Um, so I think Louie's actually, surprisingly good. 4 drop spots are sometimes hard to find very great cards. In in Sapphire, there's always Hiram that fills that spot. But outside of him, I don't know of any other like super great 4 drop cards in Sapphire that people are playing, and having 3 strength on support is much better than 2. So even if I were just playing, if I had to choose just one of them, I'd play Louie. And I did make a deck with all 3 of these in it. It's not a very competitive deck, but you get them more than you would expect if you run 4 copies of each, surprisingly. And it is fun to do, say, oh, I've got a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and a 4-drop. But the main issue I've run into is as soon as you play Huey, it gives the opponent an open field to say, there's no way that they're ever going to do anything with that card, right? Because you're just basically saying, I really want to get the draw 3 off of this, so they're free to quest to do whatever they want, and you just kind of sit there.
Yeah, and Huey is the cheapest one, right?
Yeah, he's the 2/2 for 2.
Yeah, so you're telegraphing heavily what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that like that having the when we can eventually get a Dewey and Louie that's cheaper, that the Huey can trigger quicker op would definitely make it a lot more worthwhile.
Yeah, but you could also bluff people. Like, you play it out early, and if they waste removal on it, just ink your Dewey and Louie. They're all inkable, right?
Yeah.
So that's, if you really want to push these guys to the limit, you could still play them. The chances are of you getting all of them out without playing a Dragon Gem deck, which allows you to return support cards from your discard to your hand for 3, which is crazily expensive.
Also, I do not think these will at all be playable in a singleton format.
Yeah. Unless there's a choose 3 commanders, then you can do Huey, Dewey, and Louie.
With I've seen people also talk about doing like a pre-Musketeer thing.
Okay.
Or what Donald's musical group? El Caballero?
The Three Amigos.
I thought I was thinking it was like a T.
The Spanish word basically boils down to Three Amigos.
Okay.
Or 3 friends.
Okay, gotcha.
It's the Caballeros is what it is. For me, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, just from the Disney side of things, I love the fact that they gave all 3 cards support, because no matter what incarnation of Huey, Dewey, and Louie you're talking about, whether it was the original comics, the cartoon, the original DuckTales, the new DuckTales, the 3 of them always supported each other. They were always Huey, Dewey, and Louie. It was never one by themselves. So having them all have support, having them all be together, it fits with the Huey, Dewey, and Louie, giving them the ability of Huey's ability of the 3 nephews. When they're all together, you get that bonus. It plays into Huey, Dewey, and Louie being together. Because I can't think of any instance where we would say Huey was doing this and Dewey was doing this and Louie did that. It's always Huey, Dewey, and Louie were doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So
I kind of hope though in the newest DuckTales, so the mom made a comment that she had different names picked out for them. I think that would be fun if they had got Floodborn with their names. Because one of them was going to be terrible, and there was a line with the guy was yelling at Donald like, "I could have been terrible. Why did you change my name?"
yeah.
Oh man.
But do you really trust Della Duck to name the kids?
Oh my god, I don't think we have time for it, but I have a whole rant on how Della Duck is a terrible mother and should not have been as forgiven as he was so early on. Like, she should have spent a whole season trying to earn her way back into that family. Like, Oh, I have newborns on the way. Oh, I'm gonna go on a rocket trip. Like, no! She straight up abandoned the family. And they're like, oh, it was an accident. It's supposed to be a quick trip and bait and then come right back. Like, no.
I did not know any of this. I feel like we need to like
Yes.
the real
That-
ducks of
Oh,
whatever reality
that's
show.
there was some gut
that
tail
was the
for
storyline
like,
of the new DuckTales.
but like, yeah, I have a. She's a great character, and I absolutely love the actress they got to voice her because the actress I love everything she played. Um, and I was so happy when I first heard her voice, and they're like, "Oh, I know her." I don't know names, but like um, she was in like the one of the last seasons of the Community, and she was in Criminal Minds, and
Yeah, I
like
was gonna say, wasn't it? It's Paget Brewster, isn't it?
I think so.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, she's a phenomenal actress, and I absolutely like. She was a great choice, and I absolutely loved her at Delaguk. But I definitely think the family forgave Delaguk way too early. She straight up abandoned them.
Well, water under the
And-
bridge. Oh man.
So we're running out of time for today's adventure. Any last thoughts on anything we talked about today, Mike?
Other than I'm really looking forward to building this commander style deck. I think we'll have to finalize the rules and we'll type those up or share a link of our final version of it.
And
in the
we're
show
gonna have
notes.
that. We're gonna have to have a whole writers' room meeting on that, trying to figure out what we're gonna call it.
Yeah, right. So I'm excited for that, and I don't know. I don't know when you said Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and I see the brothers sitting there next to each other. I just get a little bit sentimental because I'm one of three brothers, also. So, shouts out to my brothers for being supportive to me.
The question is, are you Huey, Dewey, or are you Louie?
I'm the youngest, so whichever one fits that character the best.
Honestly, it strike me as which one the red one? That Huey, that Dewey. What?
Huey.
Dew-
Huey.
Mike strike me as a Dewey.
All right, Dewey, I am.
Okay. Matt, any last thoughts before we sign off for tonight?
It'd be interesting to see. We have talked about just before the show. We're thinking about trying to get the equipment set up that we can start doing video plays about playing games. So we could probably see us actually maybe do some videos on attempting this new format.
Yeah.
So to keep an eye out for that.
Well, on behalf of Mike and Matt, thank you guys for watching this episode of Adventures in the Ink. Don't forget to like the videos, hit us up in the comments, let us know what you think. Drop us some questions. Anything you want us to talk about. We need ideas for future episodes, so we want to hear from you guys. So start interacting on the socials. Let us know what's going on. But for now, I'm Scott. Thanks for watching, and as always, adventure awaits.